How's it going, wrestling fans? Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Wrestle Report Live, episode 26 with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
I'm Don.
Happy May the 4th to everyone who applies to like wrestling and Star Wars. So May the 4th be with you, and we are here for a quick episode here. Our goal is to get you out of here almost before NXT starts. It might overlap a little bit, but we still have plenty to talk about. Don, how's it going, man? It's been a week. How's everything?
Good, man. Turned 29 this past Sunday.
Yep.
So,
Now, the big 2-9 for Don. Feel any older?
Yeah, my back feels it, bro.
It's funny. You always hear that growing up. People tell you, like, oh, do you feel older? And you like, why do people ask that? And then you get to the age where you do start to feel it every passing year or whatever.
Yeah.
So happy late birthday to Don on air. We've talked and stuff since then, but to throw it out there on air, hope he had a great weekend. And we got a pretty good week of wrestling coming up, kicking off here with NXT because we know it didn't kick off with Raw. I didn't watch Raw, so if there's anything we're talking about, you guys let me know. But really, tonight, NXT is going to be over. We're going to preview that at the end, and then we're also going to talk about AEW Blood and Guts, which is a pay-per-view quality show, obviously, that's going to be on just regular TNT, which to me is interesting enough because, as we know, Blood and Guts is essentially a War Games match, right? And those matches go a long time. And I didn't really think about it until it was brought up to other people that it's kind of ballsy to run a War Games match, let's call a spade here, on TV, having to deal with commercial breaks and TV times and not just your typical pay-per-view. I'm sure they have it figured out and everything. I don't expect like the match to not end in time or anything, but like it does add a little more pressure to have a match like this, on a regular TV. I don't know that that's been done since the early Crockett days, if even then.
Yeah, I have no idea how they're going to do it. I'm excited to see it. I'm actually going to watch it. I've actually been trying to keep up with it since NXT moved to Tuesday. Yeah, man, I'm excited for it. I've heard speculation that supposedly they pre-recorded most of the matches, and then Blood and Guts is going to be live. So I think that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, there was some confusion because a lot of people that like bought tickets to that event, they tried to let them know, like, hey, if you're coming to this, you're mostly just going to see the Blood and Guts. And then they started announcing other matches, and it confused some people. And you pretty much said it right there. A lot of anything else on the show was probably pre-recorded, and then the Blood and Guts will be the only thing that's live. Which that's definitely the way to do it. You don't want to pre-record Blood and Guts or anything like that. So that needed to be live. Or whatever. And it's going to take place basically a year to the day that the original concept was going to. At that point, it would have been the Inner Circle versus the Elite. That kind of got turned into the Stadium Stampede, which we watched live, which we, got a good kick out of or whatever. This is a little bit more serious between the Inner Circle and now the Pinnacle. We'll start right here, though. To me, it's obvious the Pinnacle has to win, or the idea of why they formed and everything would just kind of be a joke. And it would kind of suck that the Inner Circle have lost these two big, Stadium Stampede and this, but I do think they'd be able to get past that, and I do think the Pinnacle needs to win this to be taken seriously.
Yeah, because this will be technically their first match altogether.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? I feel like the Inner Circle has lost a lot of matches, though. They have lost a lot of matches, so it's like I don't know, man. I always say they booked themselves into a corner. I feel like. Yeah.
My one thing I would have liked to see even before this point is almost have like a show, like just a regular Dynamite. You can give it some name, like they like to do, where just every match on the card is an Inner Circle guy against a Pinnacle guy, and kind of do like a Survivor Series, keeping track of points, and like you could maybe have it end in a tie. That would have brought you to this, because like no matter how this goes, I feel like the feud's not going to be over in a weird way.
And you think that this will be the end game is Blood and Guts.
Yeah. I mean, War Games, like I said, let's call a spade a spade. That's what this is. That's always been used to end feuds. Like it's the ultimate feud ender in every company that wasn't WWE until they started using it only in NXT, of course. And some people may or may not know this. The Elimination Chamber was kind of invented to be their version of that because Triple H was lobbying to bring in War Games. Vince wouldn't have it. And then him and Eric Bischoff kind of created their version of it, and Vince signed off on that. So they've always wanted something like that in their arsenal, and they ended up, bringing in NXT where we can all agree that Vince doesn't really care what happens over there. So Triple H can let that stuff go. I do think, weirdly enough, this won't be the end of the feud, and it will end with like another MJF Jericho match at maybe like Double or Nothing. Here's my question though: do you think it ends with maybe like a loser leaves AEW and it ends with like Jericho's retirement? I mean, he's pushing.
I could see that happening.
50.
I could definitely see that happening. Thing is, and where's Jericho gonna go? Where's he gonna go after that?
Well, yeah. The way I look at it too is because they've been very good about keeping their promises on, like, you know, Cody hasn't challenged for the world title and stuff like that. It could be a like retire from in ring and then he becomes a commentator. They had months and months of him practicing with that, and people enjoyed that. And I could see a time where Chris Jericho and Paul White get to do the Elevation show together. You know, former WWE Tag Team Champions on commentary. For
Jericho.
Yeah. That Jericho, absolutely, which would be pretty crazy. But we mentioned too. I don't know if you have any lasting thoughts on the Blood and Guts. I'm excited to see it. I think it's crazy and it's ballsy that it's going to be on regular television, and I'm definitely here for it. And like we said, we thought that that was going to be the whole show, and I would have been down with that. I'd tune in at 8:00 and I'm ready for that one match. But last week they did announce a few others. I'm just going to run through those. The QT Marshall and Cody Rhodes feud is kind of coming to a head. They're going to have that match. Cody made his return last week, so that'd be kind of predictable how this is probably going to go. But it should be good with he's got the factory and then the Nightmare Family. It'll probably be a good. Again, assuming the heels are winning the main event, I think it'd be good to give Cody this babyface win, because you got to do even out the show a little bit here. This is going to be interesting, because I think what's probably going to happen here, you got Kenny Omega and his buddy Michael Nakazawa teaming up against probably the most badass team in wrestling right now, which is Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston together. I think everyone can agree what a badass Eddie Kingston is, and then Moxley is no slouch either. I think what's going to happen here is Kenny Omega just walks off and says, I ain't doing this, and leaves Nakazawa to get destroyed by these two guys. This match is going to be 5 minutes maybe total.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I also thought I had a question too. Like, are they going to actually show on the Titantron what's going on the live feed? Because like you said, there's no matches going on. There's no matches. It's just the Blood and Guts. Is Blood and Guts going to end up being pre-recorded? Or are they going to start Blood and Guts, the actual match, that Blood and Guts match at 8:00?
I could see them doing some dark matches, AEW dark matches for that first hour
to lead up into it.
Yeah, that it's hard to say how they're really doing it, but that's what I would assume. The only other thing I could say is they kind of started at 8 and it'll be on a slight delay, but I think it'd be with live people there, you can't really pull that off because it'll be tweeted out what's going to happen or whatever. So my guess is they'll give them some filler stuff that probably be on YouTube later. That would be my best guess, but I don't know for sure because we've never really had this situation like this before.
Yeah. And also, I guess you could technically film Elevation. Yeah, exactly. Or Dark. You could do all that type of content, and then lead it into Blood and Guts.
Yeah, I could definitely see it going that way. The other things I've advertised is Britt Baker in action. Doesn't say against who, so I mean that'll be fairly quick. And then the only other match, and this one has a little bit more stakes to it. You got a 4-way tag team eliminator match, not elimination, but eliminator. Basically, the winning team gets a title shot for the tag team titles. You got SCU, Jurassic Express, Varsity Blondes, and the Acclaimed. And SCU has kind of pushed out there that next time they lose, I don't think this will count. I think it's in a one-on-one match. I don't know if they've gotten this picky about it or anything, but next time they lose basically a one-on-one match, that they'll no longer be a team. You still have Jurassic Express. The Acclaimed, they've kind of already had their match. I would actually love to see the Varsity Blondes get a, really surprising upset here and have a great match against the Bucks and ultimately lose. I think it would just be it would lift them to a level that the other three teams are at that they aren't quite there yet. And it'll also coincide with, I don't know if you're a fan of the Dark Side of the Ring series.
Yeah, because there's the first 2 episodes were on Brian Pillman.
Yes, for season 3, and we can talk about this a little bit more towards the end, but I did want to throw that out there. It would coincide perfectly. That name's going to be coming up a lot. You get, him in a big match like that. So, I don't know if they're going to think that deep into it, but that is something I'd like to see Varsity Blondes pull up this upset, and, it'll coincide perfectly with that season 1. For whatever reason, I'll just talk about this now. So it's a two-parter for the season 3 premiere. It's the Brian Pillman episode. The first one's already out. It's supposed to air on the 6th, and I was scrolling through YouTube, and I found the whole thing on the Vice page. So I've watched it. It's very good. It's on a great cliffhanger to lead into part 2. So we'll have to wait like everybody else. So, but I find that like Vice is just cool like that. Like they're really good at like even after their stuff airs live, they make it available for you to watch otherwise if you don't have that obscure channel. So, and then that show itself, if you're not familiar with it, is on Hulu for people that want to catch up on the first 2 seasons. But it's a great show. I don't know if you caught the first one yet, but the Brian Pillman one has been really good so far.
Yeah. I actually, man, I had to actually look it up and see if this was it. Because I was like, I don't remember seeing this last season because I watched Dark Side of the Ring all the time. Because I actually have Vice. So I'm able to watch it, and it always comes on. So I'm always turning it on and watching like the first season and stuff. Yeah. And then I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh crap! This is it. This is the part 1." Supposedly, part 1 is on the 6th, and then I guess part 2 is on
the 12th, I guess, or something like that. Yeah, I don't know if they're a week apart exactly, but they're still airing that first one on TV on the 6th still. So I think they just wanted to give everybody, talking about it or whatever. But no, I love the show too. Like I said, I've watched it. It's on Hulu, the first 2 seasons, and I've probably seen every episode like twice. I've seen them all once, and the ones I really liked, I went back and watched. And like the Chris Benoit ones, of course, are crazy. And then like the season 2 finale about Owen Hart.
What's your favorite one?
Oh man, it's hard. And on a show like this, it's really asking you like what one like hits you the hardest, I think, because it's very true to its name. It's the dark side of the ring. So like a lot of these, almost none of these are like fun to watch. They're, as I've explained much before, they're really tough to watch in the best way. And because of that, I think it's got to be Owen Hart one, because like there was information in that one that we didn't know. Like the Chris Benoit one, there was a little bit of that. And then there's like the Bruiser Brody murder, for example. Like if you are familiar with that story, they didn't tell you anything new, but like they presented it to you in like a entertaining way and things like that.
Yeah. I would say
Dino Bravo too. I knew nothing about that one, so I just sat down. Like I learned a lot on that one. So that one's up there too, just because I went into it blind,
And the great thing about like the Bruiser Brody one is that Tony Atlas was actually there.
He made that episode,
and he was in the episode as well. So I like that. I thought it was pretty strange though with the Benoit one, because you had Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is the narrator, and he's also actually he's part of the sit down guys. I thought that was pretty weird.
It is weird for that one episode, but then you come to find out like, oh, he narrated the whole season. They would have had to find somebody new to do that one episode, and like, why not let him narrate that? But yeah, I could see like if you're learning about this for the first time, you're like, oh, the guy narrating is also sitting here. You don't see that in documentaries that often, really. So
you never really see that.
The one that like you'd always heard stories about, but I didn't know a whole lot, was like the Fabulous Moolah stuff, and the reason that they had to take her name off the Battle Royal. Like when you really got to find out the way she treated her students and stuff, that one's pretty crazy too. But there's really not a bad one in the bunch. I mean, there's ones that I might have not had as much interest in the story of it. To me, it reminds me of like American Horror Story. I don't know if you've ever watched that, but like every season is a completely different story, and and they're themed differently. Like one's called like Freak Show, and it's about like circus people, right? And another one could be about an insane asylum. And it's like one might grab you more than the other, but once you sit down and watch it, it's going to be good all the way through anyway. So to me, it's like they're done really well, regardless of if you cared about that particular topic or not. So that's what I mean. I almost wonder like if whoever runs Vice struck a gold mine letting these guys. Because I'm sure they produced it on their dime and everything, but like you can't not want to like watch it all. And like while the initial ratings for the show can only be so great because not everyone has the channel, it gets out and it gets views and it becomes a talking point for the whole week when the episodes come out.
Oh yeah, bro. And I don't know if you heard, but they're gonna come out with one for football.
Really? I didn't know that.
They're gonna come out with another one. Supposedly that's coming out at the same time. It's gonna be the sister to the Dark Side of the Ring. So I think that would be pretty cool as well.
Does it have a name? Is it like Dark Side of the League or Dark Side of the Field or something?
Dark Side of something, yeah.
Okay, cool. I have to look into that. So considering we both watched the show anyway, I think as these come out, we'll do a quick little review of each episode. I mean, for a part 1 and part 2, I'd rather just talk about it all when they're out, afterwards.
Yeah.
But there's other ones that are coming out this season. The Smith family, for example, which is Jake Roberts, his father, and he actually has other people in his family, and it's pretty messed up family. You're going to learn a lot of things that are a little disturbing. The plane ride from hell is going to get an episode, which is going to be pretty intense. The Brian Pillman's ones we know about. Nick Gage is another one, and it looks like the Collision in Korea, which is WCW and New Japan, had a show in Korea that like during the war essentially. And I've heard Dusty Rhodes tell story about these, and Cody like retelling his stories, but like I don't know the story beginning to end or anything. And that's just a few of the episodes. I know there's others. I think the plane ride from hell is my most anticipated one for this season, though.
I don't know if you saw, but the Dynamite, they're gonna have a Dynamite Killer one too. That's going with David Arquette. So,
okay.
I think that would be pretty interesting too, because as we both saw the David Arquette movie, documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be pretty cool to see too, because he's in it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got one. I actually looked it up. They got one with the Ultimate Warrior, Grizzly Smith. I'm sorry.
Yep, that's Jake Roberts. Yeah, that's Jake Roberts' father. That's that one. Yep.
And Nick Gage. You said that right?
Yeah, don't know a lot about that one. I did.
Yeah, same.
But I almost like that. These guys are so good that like if I don't know about it, already, and like not to toot our own horn, but we know a little bit about wrestling. That's why we're doing the show in the first place. And if I don't know that topic, like I'm that much more excited.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely, if you're not familiar with it, check it out. Dark Side of the Ring. Seasons 1 and 2 are on Hulu. That's probably the easiest way to catch yourself up. If you have cable or various things, see if you have Vice, because it'd be cool to give them the ratings. I'd love to give them the ratings. I just don't have the channel, but I definitely.
I got you, bro. I'll give you the ratings.
All right, cool. We'll get together. Yeah. But so definitely check it out. Dark Side of the Ring, and season 3 is going to be great.
I did want to say it's going to be Dark Side of Football.
Okay, good to know.
It's gonna premiere the 13th of May at 10 o'clock, leading into the second episode of Dark Side of the Ring.
I know this is a wrestling show, but did they have the topics for that out yet? Is that on there?
I know they said so far. I only seen one thing, and it was basically about the Penn State scandal.
Okay, that's
the only one I've seen. Yeah.
One I'd love to see before we get off, because again, wrestling show, not sports show, but Pat Tillman. I think we need a Pat Tillman episode where they really get all the answers. I think that would be a good one. But to get back on track here for wrestling, but again, check it out, Dark Side of the Ring, and check out Dark Side of Football, because I know I will too. We talked about Blood and Guts and where that's going to go, and we mentioned Kenny Omega's going to be on the show, but I don't think he's really going to compete. I think he's going to run away and leave Nakazawa to get crushed. But Kenny Omega's had a pretty good, busy couple weeks here, collecting a few more belts over last weekend at the Rebellion pay-per-view, defeating Rich Swann in what was a pretty good match. A little botchy, though. I don't want to lie. They had 3 major botches, and they were all involving turnbuckle spots. And it's just really strange that, I'm not, a perfectionist. You're going to have a slip here and there, but all 3 of them involved the turnbuckle, and it took some people out of the match. But to be honest, people didn't really watch this show for the match. They were hoping it was good, but they really wanted to see what ended up happening, which is Kenny Omega winning the Impact World Championship, and he's still carrying around the TNA belt as well. You'll see the picture in the thumbnail of the video. So it's really showing him as he has a AAA title as well, but he now has 4 belts that he carries around, and it's really he's not really showing them off on AEW, which is strange. I think now that he's quote unquote competing in a match, they might have to do it this week, but it's quite a spectacle to see him with, the Impact title, the AEW title, the TNA title, which is unofficially unified with the Impact title, and then, of course, the AAA Mega title. So what would you if it was up to you, do you stop it here? What belt do you see him going after next, if any? We know where it ends, but do you think there's going to be any stops in between?
I think he needs to stop.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I get the gimmick. He's the collector. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. But I mean, yes, you get great matches and stuff, but what's the end game to it? Like, what's the end game to TNA, to Impact Championship? Is one of the surprise people that got released from WWE going to take it from him? What's going to happen? So it's like
So
I'm not a fan of it.
One thing I will say is, so they did at the Rebellion pay-per-view, they did a preview, like a teaser for Slammiversary.
Yeah, and they had all. Yeah, I heard.
And they had Joe in there.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer, to get the TNA title, you know, like to get the belt off of him that way. But I think we all know that this is hopefully going to lead up to a New Japan thing. It would have been him and Kota Ibushi at one point, which would have been a whole nother level. But he obviously has dropped the title in Japan right now. I believe it's Switchblade, or I believe at the moment. I could be wrong. No, Switchblade's one different belt. But but it's not Kota anymore. So plus it would take a while to make it a Japan thing because travel is still not super. It's been done though. Like Kenta made it here, and Moxley's defending the U.S. title in 2 weeks against Nagata. So like the travel is there. I think it just takes a while. So it's not out of the whole possibility that this ends in Japan somewhere.
I believe when you got to quarantine for like 14 days once you go over there. Same for if you come over here.
So it's possible, right?
It's possible.
Shout out Kevin Garnett. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't think you can go too long. You can't keep these promotions titles hostage for too long, I don't think. I will say this for Kenny. He's appeared on Impact pretty regularly. He's had a handful of matches. So it's not truly keeping it hostage. It's still like a benefit to that brand, I would say. Mexico, I don't know how long he's been over there. But I don't know how much shows they're running either. So I think it's more something to keep him in the limelight. So, I mean, I'm kind of okay with that. But I am interested to see where it goes. Good match, great moment. Would have loved to see a little bit of a crowd there. And I can't take credit for this idea, but I did hear what would have been cool is if they had, like, the way AEW puts their independent talent basically around the ring. Half the side, you have AEW guys cheering them on, and you have the TNA guys on the other side of that match. It would have really added to it. And the thing I will throw in that was my idea is the Good Brothers should have stood right in the middle because they're Impact guys, but they're Kenny's boys, you know? That's something I think that would have made that a little better, but that's, here nor there. But the moment still seemed pretty significant when it happened.
Yeah, I would say this. One thing I did like that I loved about the match is that they have both AEW referee and the Impact referee.
Yeah.
There at the same time. And so I did like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that did make it feel special. The other thing I was thinking of, why didn't they work out a deal and have this pay-per-view at Daly's place? Like, why not give Impact a crowd a little bit? Even if it's the same general, like, TNA still has roots in Orlando. Like, people would come out to an Impact show. We used to be spoiled with Impact shows here in Florida, and now they're not here. They're up in, I think they're in the Carolinas at the moment, or Tennessee.
I heard Nashville.
Nashville, yeah. So, like, it's, people would have came out, maybe not as much as like a Dynamite taping, but probably something, pretty similar, I think. So that's a lot of the AEW stuff. I'm looking forward to the show tomorrow night and everything. But NXT is about to start here in a little while. What can we expect on tonight's show?
It's supposed to be a stacked show. We got both. We got the women's tag team champion, Ember Moon and Shotzi.
Yep.
They're going to go against Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae in a street fight. Then we have a street fight actually with Isaiah versus Leon Ruff. I think that would be pretty decent because the last match they had was great.
Mm-hmm.
And then Finn Balor's supposed to be coming back to address his loss. This is his first time coming back since the loss at Stand and Deliver.
Okay. And then I see you, looks like Ciampa and Thatcher against Grizzled Young Vets.
Yeah, Grizzled Young Vets. Oh,
yeah. That's going to be good. That's going to be hard hitting.
Oh, my gosh. I can't wait to see that match.
For sure. So we were just talking about like Dark Side of the Ring and how great that content is. I do want to talk about something that's this past week has kind of started to annoy me. WWE's content on A&E now, the channel A&E. I'm not mad at the content because the content is actually fantastic. It's the individual like documentaries they're doing, and then there's the like memorabilia show. I don't know. It's like WWE Hidden Treasures or something.
Trying to find the treasures and stuff.
The Jerry Lawler one was fantastic. People may or may not know Jerry Lawler is one of my favorite wrestlers. If I was born 10 years earlier, he probably would have been my favorite wrestler if I grew up in the 80s and not in the 90s. So I loved it early on, too. It's like episode 3, they did one on him. And there's the other one so far. I haven't gotten to watch those yet, but there's one on. I
know the Kane mask. The original Kane mask.
Oh, yeah, the Undertaker one that I need to watch. And then there's, I forget what episode 1 was. But, like, I love that stuff. And it's like, if you want to air it on A&E, fine. But this is the kind of stuff that would have come out on the network had you still had it. And I'm still paying for Peacock, and all the good shit isn't getting on there. So by the end of this pay period, I'm getting rid of Peacock. It does not seem worth it like the network used to be. I just want to throw that out there right now.
I understand.
I mean, I'll pick it back up for like a big show if I need it or whatever, but like there's not enough. Back in the network days, like I would just, pull up a random documentary and like I know I can throw on random like events, but like the in-ring library is still nowhere near as good as it used to be on there. So like, I'm better off finding it on YouTube half the time, depending on what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Or yeah.
I hope they get their shit together. And I love the A&E content. I'm more upset that it's on A&E because what wrestling fan has ever watched A&E before? Like, if you have, I'm not really digging on you, but like, it's just not a big crossover audience.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I used to watch A&E just because I like Storage Wars and they see Lizard Lick used to be on there. I couldn't say it at all. Say that. Jesus.
But and again, there's some good stuff on it, but it's not a good like when Raw was on like Spike TV, you understood the cross platform there. But I kind of have a way that works for me to watch this stuff, and I do hope it keeps coming with the the documentary show has been great where they kind of go through somebody's career, but like we've seen versions of that already. So really the memorabilia show, the Hidden Treasure show is what I hope we continue. Cause I remember back in the day, they did a short like YouTube series about like what WWE had in their warehouse. I think like Todd Phillips used to host it, and that was great, but they only did like 4 or 5 of them and then they stopped. So I think this will be a slightly better version of that because they're going to keep it going. The one thing that's funny is like the guy that hosts the show, it's like Anthony something, and it says like wrestler in training and then like memorabilia expert or whatever. So I wonder if in like 3-4 years, this dude's like trained up at the PC and he pops up and like he gets a huge pop just because people know him from this show. And he has like a built-in, fan base already moving forward. That would be pretty cool to see. I did want to, before we get out of here, because NXT is starting soon, and that was kind of my goal was to get everyone out of here before NXT starts. And I want to thank you guys for listening to everything. But last episode, I should say, we kind of left something out there about if Walter showed up at like a SummerSlam type event, what opponent you want to give him. And I actually got several responses to that when I threw it in a few wrestling groups. So I'm just trying to pull that up real quick. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I'm just going to name a few here. I'm going to name some of the most reoccurring ones was Nakamura, Cesaro, or Sheamus. And I hadn't really thought of Sheamus, but I think that actually would be a really good, especially if he's still the United States champion, a new UK champ for his US champ. And I think that would actually be pretty interesting. Braun Strowman came up a lot, which I could definitely see. Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley. I said Finn Balor already. Nakamura. I think we settled on Keith Lee. There was a few Keith Lees in there too. But I do want to appreciate everybody that threw their 2 cents in there. I think it's safe to say that if you bring Walter to a SummerSlam level stage, like there's going to be somebody with nothing to do that could give him a great match out of those guys. Because they're not going to have all those guys in meaningful storylines that whole time. So it's definitely something worth doing. Before we get out of here, you got any other things you want to throw out for the week?
One last thing. Make sure you watch SmackDown this week Friday. It's the throwback edition of SmackDown, and that's a little cheap plug, even though I'm not getting funded by WWE.
Do we get the fist?
That's what I'm hoping for.
Let's go.
Man.
Yeah.
There's supposedly there's gonna be a whole new set and everything. So let's see what happens.
Cool, and I get to hear my boy Pat McAfee, so I am sold. Thank you guys for listening to the Wrestle Report, episode 26, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.